For me, this Monday morning has been a little bit of a challenge. I don't know why. I actually tried. I was reading Jay Shetty's Think Like a Monk, and the challenge was to get up a little bit earlier each day with a view to being able to capture some part of that day to actually prepare yourself for that day. And so I tried to do that. I got up 15 minutes earlier this morning to meditate before going to the gym. So I wonder whether it's that, or it could be the horrible, crappy weather that we've got in Sydney today. I don't know if you can hear the wind and the horrible dark sky going on out there. But anyway, it's a Monday morning. So what have you got planned this week? What's going on in your world this week? If you're watching this live, please drop a comment below and just say hi and maybe introduce yourself. And if you're watching this on replay, a big high five to you, and I hope you're having the most amazing week. So my name is Janine Garner, and I'm absolutely passionate about helping entrepreneurs and small business owners unlock their brilliance, unlock the opportunity that is often right at the end of their fingertips in terms of the networks of people around them. And I'm passionate about debunking the myth of the hard work of networking, and really helping entrepreneurs and small business owners really scale their business by making the right connections with the right people and really developing strong partnerships, strong collaborations, strong networks that will help them scale their business. But most of the time, networking is the thing that people don't invest in. It's the thing that almost, I call it that vomit in mouth moment where they're just like, ugh, it's really the last thing I want to do. So if you're watching this over on YouTube and you love what you hear by the time you get to the end of this session, please press subscribe. I'd love you to subscribe. And also, what's the word? Click, pick, whatever it is. I think I need a quick swig of coffee. Let's just have a quick swig of coffee. The bell there so that you can get announcements as we're loading up more videos. In YouTube, we will be loading up way more video content. Lots of how-tos, lots of tips, lots of ideas on how to significantly, exponentially improve your networking to scale your business. So if you like what you hear, by the end of this session, make sure you subscribe to that button, press the bell, and thank you for following us. The other place that you can stay connected with us or with me is to jump on over to Facebook. We have a group over there, Networking Skills for Entrepreneurs. Would love you to join us. Lots of learning units in there. Lots of tips and ideas, and over the course of this year I'm actually going to be introducing you to some of my own network, some of the awesome people that I know, entrepreneurs, incredible thinkers, incredible game changers, as a way of you connecting with people that you may not otherwise know. And actually on Friday, I've got this incredible woman, Dr. Amy Silver, joining us. We are going to be chatting all about one of the things that gets in the way when you're networking at fear. Dr. Amy Silver is going to share with us how to change and control your relationship with fear. So we'll be live streaming with Dr. Amy Silver on Friday. If you've got any questions you want me to ask her, just message me, pop them in the comments below, and I'll add them to my list for Dr. Amy. Alrighty, so let's get started with what I want to talk about today. Okay, so I think that when it comes to networking, it's probably up there in terms of the top 5 things that probably stress most people out. You know, we know the stress of having to move house, changes in family situation, getting a new job. But I reckon networking also creates an incredible amount of fear in people. And I think that there are 3 critical pain points that exist for most people when they think about networking. The first one is just the sheer banal transactional nature of networking. You know, many of my clients often talk to me about it's just icky, Janine. It's just superficial. It's just shallow conversation. It's highly transactional. And a lot of people just actually wonder, why on earth should I bother, because of that transactional nature. There's nothing in it for me. I'm not getting any depth. And the sheer banal transactional nature of networking is a massive pain point for people. Put your hands up if that's you. The second thing that I hear is the reality is, if you're going to build a really strong network, a solid partnership of people around you that are going to push you further than you ever go yourself, that see possibility where you see impossibility, that are going to hold you accountable. If you're going to build that, it requires an incredible amount of vulnerability from you. Yeah, I'm right. What I'm saying is, you've got to be brave. You've got to be more vulnerable. If you're going to ask people for help, if you're going to share with people the things that you're worrying about, if you are, if you're searching for something specific, then it requires a sheer amount of vulnerability. If we throw in time pressure, let's imagine there's something that's happened in your world. Let's imagine you've lost your job and suddenly you're having to find a new job. Let's imagine your sales have tanked and suddenly you're having to hustle to build business. That sheer time pressure where you know you need help means that suddenly you've got to dig really deep into that vulnerability piece to be brave enough to ask for help. You know what I'm talking about. It's like the hardest thing so many of us have as human beings is that challenge of asking for help. And the third thing really is just that thought process that the only way to do networking is you got to go to large formal networking events. You've got to connect with a whole load of people online that you don't know. You've got to attend big networking Zoom meetings, and just the sheer scale of that, the sheer effort of that just fuels those pains. So I'm talking about transactional nature of networking. I'm talking about the fact that you do have to be vulnerable because you've got to share and ask for help. And I'm talking about the fact that traditional networking events that we feel we've got to go to build network, for many of us, actually fuel this. I call it that vomit in mouth feeling of, oh, it's the last thing I feel like doing. Well, what I want to talk to you about today are a couple of principles to consider around how do you actually start embracing the power of light touch networking. The first principle is one of discipline. Like anything in life, whether we're wanting to learn to meditate, to get better at reading our financial reports, to get better at nutrition, to run a marathon, to get better at reading, at personal development, all of that takes discipline. And it's the same with networking. If you want to improve your ability to connect and network in the right way, you've actually got to practice every single day. So we're talking about that. So first principle is one of discipline and practicing every single day. The second principle is one around playing the long game. I'm an absolute believer in, if we actually change our thinking from what's in it for me, what's the return on my investment, who am I going to meet, how many sales leads, how many new contacts have I got, if we can change our thinking from that very transactional, quantity number driving KPI to one of actually playing the long game of nurturing your network long before you need it, that's where it becomes really powerful. And this is this concept of light touch networking. So just dropped my iPad pen, picking it up again. There you go. You see, I get so excited when I'm talking about this stuff. Okay, so if we want to have discipline and we want to play the long game, how do we do this? So the first thing is to think about, let me just flick over to my iPad here. The first thing to think about when it comes to how is this concept of getting curious about what you can give. What you can give. And I talk to so many people, and the thing that stops them is this concern about what on earth can I give? What on earth can I share? And the paralysis that fuels stops us from light touch networking. It actually fuels us only reaching out when we want something. So let me give you some ideas of what you could think about in terms of what you could give. And I want to give you 10 ideas. The first thing that you can do is give praise. So give praise to other people. People in your network, people who you've worked with, people that you've connected with. It could be something that they've written. I'm talking about liking their work. I'm talking about openly giving praise for the impact that their work, what they have done, what they are doing is having on you, on your clients, or on your wider industry. So the first thing is give praise. The second thing that you can do is attribute. So this is where somebody in your network, they may have written something, they may have done a vlog, they may have posted a video, they may have written a book, an article, whatever it may be. Share their work and attribute their work. So great article written by my really good mate, blah, blah, in this they share. Love the work of Dr. Amy Silver around fear. She's joining me next week. That's what I mean by attribution. You absolutely share other people's work, but you attribute them for their input in their work. Number 3 is recommend and introduce them to someone else. If you're looking for somebody who is awesome at teaching storytelling, then I highly recommend that you reach out to Gabrielle Dolan, a really good friend of mine based in Melbourne. That's recommending. Introducing people in terms of email to each other, because you know that there is a reason they should know each other. Light touch, it's not hard work, it's all about giving. Number 4, how about just saying hello? Say hello to somebody from your past. Think about the people that you met 3 months ago, 6 months ago. Think about past clients. Think about someone you may have studied with, been on a course with, someone that you met at a networking lunch or a client lunch, and simply just reach out and say hello. I've been thinking about you. I've been thinking about that conversation that we had. How are you doing? That's what I'm calling light touch networking. Number 5 is about, okay, here's the thing. The first thing that many of us do first thing in the morning is we're checking through Facebook, we're checking through LinkedIn, we're potentially reading the news. We might be looking at Forbes articles, HBR articles. There might be a Blinkist, a TED Talk, a podcast that you're listening to. Think about who else might find that useful and share that with them. You know, hi Steve, I recently read this article about the power of SEO marketing. I thought you might find it of interest. Hey Susan, this article about leadership raises some interesting concepts that you might want to think about in terms of sharing with your leadership team. Share content that is coming into your world with people that are part of your network. Again, light touch. So I'm just going to put here, share a news story. But it could be a TED Talk, a Blinkist, a blog, something that you've read, a podcast, etc. So don't just consume, but as you're consuming, get curious about who in my network might find this useful and just flick it on. Number 6 is about, we often don't keep our network in touch with what they're doing, what we are doing. We don't keep them in the loop of things that we're achieving, of new clients that we've won, of new projects that we're doing. And one of the most important things that our network needs from us is an understanding of where we're at. And number 6 for me is about providing an update. So this is something I do with my own network. Probably every quarter I'll provide an update of what I've been up to, gigs that I've done, speaking gigs, articles I've written, projects I'm working on, new products I've developed, and it's more just an update, keeping you in the top of mind of them. So provide an update. Number 7, say thank you. You know, how many times do we meet people? How many times has someone in your network had such an impact on you, and yet you probably forget to say thank you for the impact that they've made on you? One of the biggest things you can do, one of the most important things you can do when it comes to light touch networking is say thank you for that piece of advice, that article, that input, that insight, that connection, that conversation. Say thank you to people in your network. Number 8, reinforce the connection. What do I mean by this? Let's imagine you've met someone and you're having a conversation about digital marketing strategies, and they're sharing with you all of their wins, all of their insights, all of the results that they've got. When I talk about reinforcing connection, this is about getting curious of what can you send them back that reinforces that conversation. So it's a bit like the sharing a news story or providing an update, but this is getting really specific, thinking about the conversations that you've had and what information do you have that's in your world that you could pass on that reinforces that connection or that conversation. Number 9 is simply just check in. Just touch base. Send an SMS. Send a one-line email. Pick up the phone and leave a message. Record a video message. Like, keep it light touch and easy. I did this morning with 3 people in my network. I literally just opened up my phone, opened up text messaging and sent a quick check-in, been thinking about you, what have you got planned for this weekend, how you doing? Quick check-in emails. And the final one that you can do is share some fun stuff. You know, why does networking always have to be about work? Share some fun stuff. Ask what they were up to at the weekend. Share what you've been doing. Just share fun, build the personality, go deeper on the connection. So the first thing that you need to do is get curious about what you can give. And as I've said here, you can give praise, you can attribute, you can recommend, you can say hello, just check in, share a news story, something that you've read that morning, provide an update of what you're working on, say thank you for, reinforce connection, simply check in and share the fun stuff. There's a whole heap of things that you can absolutely share and connect on that are more than to do with work, asking for help. And this is what I mean about nurturing into the long term. The second thing of the power of light touch and nurturing long before you need it is being intentional. Like, you've got to make this a habit. You've actually got to make this a habit. And as I said, it's like anything. The more you practice, the more you get into the discipline of this, the more it will just flow and be easy. So if you want to improve your networking craft and skill, if you want to nurture relationships long before you need to, you have to have a discipline around how you are intentionally connecting. This could be a time discipline. You may go, I'm going to put 10 minutes aside every single day. You may make a list of, the 5 to 10 people that this week you're going to connect with. You may set a daily connect list of 1 to 3 people a day. Whatever works for you, it's about instilling discipline into your day. Like we instill discipline into our health and well-being, into tracking our numbers, into creating content, into managing our teams. We need to put discipline into how we're nurturing our network. So set some time aside, or set a target list of numbers aside, or create your list of people that you're going to connect with this week. And this is where you then go back to all of these, using these 10 techniques to simply touch base with them. The light touch networking. It doesn't have to be long and drawn out. It doesn't take long to send a quick text message, voice message, video message, share an article, recommend, attribute. It's about the intentionality around connecting in with those important people this week. This is how we nurture the relationship long before we actually need to ask anything. And the third thing, the final thing that I would suggest you do is one of, I call it gratitude. And this is where, for me, what I do every single week, I will put 1 hour in my calendar, usually it's on a Friday, and I think about the people that I have met that week. I think about the conversations I've had. I think about the people that I've connected with. I think about the stuff that they've asked for. I think about the promises I've made in terms of what I will share back. And I make a point of, for that hour every single week, and I call it a random acts of kindness, RAK meeting in my calendar. I use that hour to essentially follow through on those new contacts that I've made. I send the information that I've promised. I thank them for the conversation. I follow up on the actions that we've made. And essentially, I am acknowledging that connection from the previous week. So, here, the most important thing when it comes to networking is nurturing our network into the long term. If we stick in those pain points of it's transactional, the fear of vulnerability keeping you well and truly stuck and procrastinating, and a belief system that the only way you can connect and network is to go to large format events, then no wonder for so many of us it's so hard. It's become hard work. The principles of discipline and practice, of daily practice, are really important when it comes to nurturing your relationship over the long term. And the principle of nurturing your network over the long term is backed up by this concept of light touch networking. There doesn't have to be an end game. There doesn't have to be a return on investment. There doesn't have to be an action. It's about thinking through, going back to this list, the multiple ways in which you can connect with people that are important to you. It's about an intentionality around who you want to connect with this week, and an intentionality about building this discipline into your world. And as I said, suggest either 10 minutes a day, 3 people a day, or you make a list of 15 people a week. And at the end of every week, practice this concept of gratitude, of random acts of kindness. Think about the people that have had an impact on you this week and make sure you go back. Light touch networking is easy. It doesn't take significant amounts of energy. What it does take is an intentionality to keep connected, to nurture, to cultivate, and to build deep, long-lasting relationships in the long term, knowing that as you develop that depth, it becomes easier and easier to ask for help. So, get some light touch networking happening this week. I'm interested to hear your thoughts and any other ideas that you've got of how we can really tap into this light touch networking. I'd love to hear. Be intentional this week. Set yourself some targets. Keep it simple and simply reach out and connect. Remember, it's all about nurturing into the long term, and way before we need it is about playing the long game.